India's Home Minister Amit Shah dispelled all confusion and misconceptions surrounding the CAA and asserts that CAA will never be taken back. Just ahead of the 2024 general elections, the Indian government notified the Rules for Citizenship Amendment Act (CAA), which was passed by Parliament 4 years ago.
सीए का कानून कभी वापस नहीं जाएगा और भारत की नागरिकता सुनिश्चित करना ये भारत का विषय है, भारत की संप्रभुता का निर्णय है। इसके साथ हम कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं कर सकते।
In an interview, Home Minister explained that CAA seeks to offer refuge to persecuted religious minorities from neighboring countries and does not impact the citizenship status of Indian Muslims. Home Minister said that it is the moral responsibility to provide refuge to the people who were part of Akhand Bharat and were prosecuted or tortured.
अखंड भारत के जो लोग हिस्सा थे और जिन पर धार्मिक प्रताड़ना हुई है, उसको शरण देना मैं मानता हूं हमारी नैतिक जिम्मेदारी है और हमारी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल रिस्पांसिबिलिटी। जब विभाजन हुआ तब पाकिस्तान में 23% हिंदू थे, हिंदू और सिख थे। आज 3.7% बच गए। कहां गए सारे? 1951 में हिंदुओं का प्रतिशत 22% था। मैं 51 की बात कर रहा हूं। बांग्लादेश की 51 के आंकड़े ऊपर हमारे पास है। 2011 की जनगणना में वो 10% रह गए। कहां गए वो लोग? अफगानिस्तान 1992 के पूर्व, मैं 92 के आंकड़े मेरे पास लगभग 2 लाख सिख और हिंदू थे और आज करीब 500 बच गए।
Amit Shah gave assurance to the minorities that there is no need to fear as there is no provision in CAA to take anyone's citizenship.
इस देश के अल्पसंख्यक माइनॉरिटीज या तो किसी और व्यक्ति को डरने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि सीएए में किसी की नागरिकता लेने का प्रावधान ही नहीं है। सीएए सिर्फ और सिर्फ 3 देश अफगानिस्तान, पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश से हिंदू, सिख, बौद्ध, क्रिश्चियन और पारसी, जो जैन और पारसी शरणार्थी आए हैं, इनको उनका अधिकार देने का कानून है, नागरिकता देने का कानून है, जिससे इनके जीवन की वेदनाओं को हम कम कर पाए।
On international media terming CAA as an anti-Muslim law, Home Minister Amit Shah said this law cannot be seen in isolation.
फॉरेन मीडिया को पूछे उनके देश में ट्रिपल तलाक है क्या, उनके देश में मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ है क्या, उनके देश में एक भी स्टेट में 370 जैसा प्रोविजन है क्या? आप इस लॉ को आइसोलेशन में नहीं दे सकते। इस देश का एक इतिहास है। इस देश का विभाजन धर्म के आधार पर होना ही नहीं चाहिए था।
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address beneficiaries of PM Swanidhi scheme on Thursday here in Delhi. Guided by the vision of Prime Minister to provide economic support to the marginalized sections, PM Swanidhi provides hand-holding support to the street vendors. It was launched on 1st of June 2020 amidst the global economic crisis caused by the pandemic. On the occasion, the Prime Minister will also distribute loans under the scheme to 0.1 million street vendors. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone of 2 additional corridors of Delhi Metro's Phase 4 during the program. These corridors will together be of more than 20-kilometer length and will help improve connectivity and further reduce traffic congestion. Bhutanese Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay will arrive in New Delhi on a 5-day official visit to India at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Well, this will be his first overseas visit after assuming office in January 2024. During the visit, the Prime Minister of Bhutan will call on India's President Draupadi Murmu and will also hold bilateral talks with the Prime Minister of India. India's External Affairs Minister and other Indian dignitaries will also call on the Prime Minister of Bhutan. The visit of Bhutanese Prime Minister will provide an opportunity to 2 sides to review the partnership progress. Well, the Union Cabinet has approved agreements to strengthen bilateral relations between India and Bhutan. An MOU on general supply of petroleum, oil, lubricants, POL, and related products was signed between the 2 nations. An agreement was inked in the food safety. Both nations also approved an MOU on cooperation in the field of energy, efficiency and energy conservation measures. The high-level committee One Nation, One Election set up by the Indian government has submitted its report to the Indian President. The committee was formed to draw a roadmap for holding simultaneous elections at the state and centre level in India. Former Indian President Ramnath Kovind along with Union Minister Amit Shah and Arjun Ram Meghwal and others have submitted the report on Thursday. The report, comprising of 18,626 pages, is the outcome of extensive consultations with stakeholders, experts and research of 191 days since its constitution in September 2023. The committee has recommended a concrete model for One Nation, One Election. It is reported to have deliberated on a number of options for ensuring continuity of simultaneous elections. Well, DD India correspondent Vikas Sati joins us on the phone line to give more details on this. Vikas, the high-level committee, now headed by former President Ramnath Kovind, today submitted its report on One Nation, One Election. What's the latest you are getting for us?
All right, Siddha. So the committee has submitted its reports, which you just mentioned that it's more than 18,000 page report, and it has several recommendations. In fact, by and large, the committee has given 44 recommendations. These recommendations will be related to how we can conduct simultaneous on Lok Sabha, on assembly, and on local municipalities. How we achieve Indian which can follow. Then we report and expect that it will take time or whatever action taken on the report.
Vikas, your voice is not clear. Vikas, can you just tell us, the high-level committee headed by former President Ramnath Kovind today submitted its report on One Nation, One Election. What's the latest you're getting for us, Vikas?
The report has already been submitted to the President of India,
Okay.
and as you just mentioned, that the report has almost 18,000, more than 18,000 pages, and in fact, it has made 44 major recommendations that what model we can follow in India to assert Lok Sabha and elections can be conducted together. The committee formed in September 2023, and it held number of meetings with all stakeholders, political parties, experts from the legal community.
All right. I think we are trying to reconnect with our correspondent Vikas Sati. Now, India has once again called for reforms in the UN Security Council on urgent basis, stressing on the role of UN Security Council plays in efforts towards resolution of conflicts and for sustaining peace. India slammed the United Nations for being frozen in time. India's permanent representative to UN, Ruchira Kamboj, said United Nations need to evolve to avoid obsolescence and irrelevance. The Security Council, as the institutional architecture primarily responsible for the maintenance of international peace and security.
One of the most important requirements is therefore to strengthen the capacity of this Council to address the issues in front of it, by making it representative of contemporary realities and by undertaking reform to make it more effective. For its part, for our part, India has indeed walked the talk, ensuring that the African Union became a full-fledged member of the G20 during our presidency last year. The United Nations Security Council simply needs to follow suit.
Kamboj said the objective of peace building should be to break silos and to promote post-conflict peace building and recovery. India has consistently contributed positively and substantially to peace building efforts, underpinned by our efforts to give voice to the countries in the global south.
Peaceful settlement of disputes is key for the maintenance of international peace and security and the promotion of the rule of law. Dialogue and diplomacy should be the preferred path to resolve differences in an atmosphere free from fear and coercion.
Women have long made an outsized contribution to peace, development and human rights, and India takes the lead. Ruchira Kamboj highlighted India's efforts to put women in key positions in peacekeeping endeavours at the United Nations, where the session or financing for gender equality took place. Currently, there are 108 Indian women peacekeepers deployed in UN peacekeeping missions worldwide. This includes military observers and staff officers, contingent officers and soldiers, as well as 3 Indian all-women female engagement teams deployed in peacekeeping missions in the Sudan, the DR Congo and the Golan Heights. Driven by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of women-led development, the G20 had adopted a full-fledged action plan on gender equality and empowerment of women during India's presidency last year. Kamboj said India will continue to remain steadfast in contributing to these efforts globally.
We need to acknowledge that the meaningful participation of women and youth in decision-making strengthens prevention efforts and deepens the effectiveness of peace building in post-conflict situations. Women police officers and peacekeepers play an indispensable role in furthering the women, peace and security agenda in post-conflict situations, and this does need to be further incentivized and further facilitated.
The Indian Ministry of Defence has signed 2 contracts with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited for the acquisition of 34 advanced light helicopters. The deal was sealed for procuring 25 advanced light helicopters utility for the Indian Army and 9 advanced light helicopters for maritime role for the Indian Coast Guard under the Buy Indian indigenously designed, developed and manufactured category. The Indian Army version advanced light helicopters are designed to carry out search and rescue, troop transportation, internal cargo and casualty evacuation operations. Sudha Murthy, Indian educator, author and former chairperson of the Infosys Foundation, took the oath as the member of Rajya Sabha, that is the upper house of the parliament. Murthy was awarded the Padma Shri, the 4th highest civilian award in India for social work by the Government of India in 2006. Earlier on March 8th, Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended greetings to her, saying her contributions to diverse fields, including social work, philanthropy and education, have been immense and inspiring. Her presence in the Rajya Sabha is a powerful testament to our Nari Shakti, exemplifying the strength and potential of women in shaping our nation's destiny. Wishing her a fruitful parliamentary tenure. All right, and let's take a look at other stories making news today. To accelerate the adoption of electronic vehicles in India, Heavy Industries Ministry has announced the Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme 2024. The scheme will run from 1st of April until July. Only the electric 2-wheelers and electric 3-wheelers are eligible for the benefits under the scheme. The move will provide further impetus to the green mobility in India. India's first indoor athletics centre and the state-of-the-art aquatic centre has been set up at Kalinga Stadium in eastern state of Odisha. The world-class sports facilities will further strengthen the state's robust sports ecosystem and help athletes train and compete round the year without being affected by external weather conditions. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Calm in Haitian capital extends into second day after Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry resigned. US and UN begin to withdraw staff in a sign they fear peace might not hold. Israel says it will flood Gaza with aid, however, will ensure aid coming by sea will not help Hamas. Atletico oust Inter on penalties to reach Champions League quarters, while Dortmund beat Eindhoven 2-0 to reach quarters.
Why have the Big Five powers of the United Nations Security Council seen no change in 8 decades? Who is stalling reform of the world body, and for how long can we wait? Are we truly alone in the universe, or are there aliens who keep playing hide and seek with us? Watch Connecting the Dots to get the full picture every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. A TikTok bill that could potentially lead to it being banned in the United States is moving forward to the Senate. The wording of the bill, approved by the House, calls for TikTok to divest from its Chinese-owned parent company ByteDance within 6 months. In June 2020, India became the first country to ban TikTok. DD India's Caroline Malone sends a report from Washington.
Advocates of the TikTok bill say it poses a national security threat to the around 170 million users in the US, which is the biggest user base in the world. They say it has the potential for China to access data or to use malicious software on TikTok in the United States. Well, a bipartisan group of lawmakers decided to approve the TikTok bill by an overwhelming majority in the House, and that bill will now be considered by the upper level of Congress, by the Senate. But TikTok users have actually been calling their congressional representatives to complain, saying that it is a crucial part of their lives and, for many people, a part of their livelihoods. In fact, a TikTok-funded study suggests the app contributes billions of dollars in revenue for small businesses and particularly for people in the food and beverage industry. Previously in the US, the state of Montana tried to ban TikTok outright, and that actually failed. And there is a suggestion that this type of bill could be considered unconstitutional if it became law, especially because in the US there's the First Amendment rights, which allows for free speech. Some lawmakers want to see a wider digital privacy bill instead, which acts on all foreign-owned apps and also protects users on all social media platforms, including the likes of X and Facebook. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
Meanwhile, China has called the bill an act of bullying that will backfire. TikTok CEO has vowed not to stop legal fighting and advocating.
We will not stop fighting and advocating for you. We will continue to do all we can, including exercising our legal rights, to protect this amazing platform that we have built with you. We believe we can overcome this together.
A Georgia judge has dismissed some of the charges against former United States President Donald Trump and his allies in the Georgia election interference case. Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee noted that allegations by state prosecutors that Trump and his co-defendants tried to get Georgia officials to violate their oaths of office did not offer enough information to move forward with. The judge left 35 other criminal counts intact, including 10 against Trump. The central racketeering charge against Trump and his remaining 14 co-defendants remain in place. Trump and his co-defendants have pleaded not guilty to charges that they formed a criminal conspiracy to seek to overturn Trump's loss to Biden in Georgia in the 2020 election. US President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, rejected a request to testify to an open hearing before US House of Representatives Committee. House Republicans had invited Hunter Biden as well as 3 of his former associates to a hearing on March 20 as part of their inquiry. House Republicans allege that President and his family have improperly profited from policy decisions Biden participated in when he was vice president from 2009 to 2017, but have not provided evidence of Biden financially benefiting. Meanwhile, the White House has denied wrongdoing, and Hunter Biden repeatedly said his father drew no financial benefit from his son's business activities. Hunter Biden is facing 2 criminal trials, both tentatively scheduled for June. Hunter Biden has pleaded not guilty and faces decades in prison on the charges.
There is no fairness or decency in what these Republicans are doing. They have lied over and over about every aspect of my personal and professional life. So much so that their lies have become the false facts believed by too many people.
Haiti's capital was calm on Wednesday, 2 days after Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry resigned. The US and UN meanwhile began to withdraw staff in a sign they fear peace might not hold. The US Southern Command has sent a team of Marines to ensure the protection of the US Embassy in the Caribbean country. DD India's Latin American correspondent Mary Trini Mena has more details.
The United States has announced the deployment of a fleet of Marines to Haiti after the resignation of the country's prime minister. According to US officials, an anti-terrorism security team has been sent to the capital Port-au-Prince. The U.S. Embassy remains open, although with limited operations. The capital is currently controlled by heavily armed civilians. The U.S. Department of State has warned U.S. citizens not to travel to Haiti. On Monday, Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry agreed to step down from his duties while a transitional council is going to be implemented. The council will exercise presidential power, and its mission is to appoint a new prime minister and a new electoral council. The goal is to hold elections later in 2024 to improve the political and social crisis in the Caribbean nation. However, experts have warned that the success of Haiti's transition will depend on whether the gangs currently in control can be part of the negotiations. Meanwhile, the Kenyan government, which had agreed with Haiti to send police forces, has decided to pause the deployment of security forces to the island. African officials said they are going to evaluate the agreement once a new Haitian government is in place. Mari Trinimene in Caracas, reporting for DD India.
Israel will try to flood the Gaza Strip with humanitarian aid from a variety of entry points as international pressure mounted to address the growing problem of hunger in the besieged enclave. Israeli military spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said they have placed no limits on the amount of aid that will allowed into Gaza. He, however, blamed failures by the aid agencies for delays. Earlier on Wednesday, the military announced that 6 aid trucks with supplies from the World Food Organization had entered the northern part of the Gaza Strip through a crossing in the security fence known as the 96th Gate. More such convoys would follow, as well as deliveries from other entry points complemented by airdrops and seaborne air cargoes. However, Israel's defense minister has said that they will ensure aid coming in by sea will benefit the Palestinian civilians in Gaza and not Hamas.
The humanitarian issue that will soon be on the agenda surrounding the expected arrivals of vessels is a central issue in order to allow supply to the civilians and not to Hamas. Any such act weakens Hamas, strengthens our grip and allows us to turn the ball on Hamas' head. We will continue to do so because it allows us operationally to complete our mission.
Lawmakers in the European Parliament voted in favor of the Artificial Intelligence Act 5 years after regulations were first proposed. The rules will cover high-impact, general-purpose AI models and high-risk AI systems, which will have to comply with specific transparency obligations and EU copyright laws. It restricts governments' use of real-time biometric surveillance in public spaces to cases of certain crimes, prevention of genuine threats such as terrorist attacks, and searches for people suspected of the most serious crimes. A total of 523 EU lawmakers voted in favor of the deal, while 46 were against and 49 abstained. EU countries are set to give their formal nod to the deal in May, with the legislation expected to enter into force early next year and apply in 2026, although some of the provisions will kick in earlier. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un guided a military demonstration involving tank units on Wednesday. Kim also expressed great satisfaction that a new type of main battle tank successfully demonstrated its striking power in its first display of performance. Kim also emphasized the need to organize intensive exercises simulating an actual war and training matches for enhancing combat capability to be able to carry out any combat mission promptly and accurately in any contingency. Kim was joined by senior officials including Defense Minister Kang Sun-nam at the event. South Korean and US troops held combined live firing drills on Thursday, wrapping up their annual joint military exercise. The drills, known as the Freedom Shield exercise, kicked off on March 4 for an 11-day and were the first to take place since Pyongyang scrapped a 2018 Inter-Korean military pact. The live firing exercise also included a demonstration of unmanned surveillance drones. The exercise featured about 40 tanks and armored cars and mobilized about 300 South Korean soldiers and about 30 US soldiers. The joint drills come as North Korean leader Kim Jong-un guided a military demonstration involving a new battle tank. Time now for sport. And 8 teams are all set to battle it out in the 2023-24 Champions League quarterfinals. On Wednesday, Atletico Madrid has reached the quarterfinals, ousting Inter Milan on penalties. It finished 2-2 on aggregate at the end of extra time after Inter had thrown away a 2-goal advantage. Atletico goalkeeper Jan Oblak was then the hero, saving penalties from Alexis Sanchez and Davy Klaassen before Inter's Lautaro Martinez blasted his spot kick over as the Spanish side advanced in thrilling style. Another team which has reached the quarterfinals is Borussia Dortmund, which secured a 2-0 win over PSV Eindhoven on Wednesday. Jadon Sancho and Marco Reus secured and scored for Dortmund. This is for the first time that Dortmund has reached the Champions League last 8th place in 3 years. The rest 6 teams are reigning holders: Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, FC Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Barcelona and Real Madrid as well. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.